Welcome back, welcome back. Well, 5 months after President Obama's memorable speech in Cairo, the prospects of peace in the Middle East are getting ever more distant, it would seem. This week, Israel approved an extra 900 settler homes in East Jerusalem, a move which President Obama has called dangerous. Meanwhile, President Mahmoud Abbas's decision not to stand for re-election has left the Palestinian Authority in crisis. So what should President Obama and the administration do now? Joining me from Stockholm is Martin Indyk from the Brookings Institution, a former US ambassador to Israel, advisor to George Mitchell, etc. And we turn to him now. Martin, do you agree with the use of the word dangerous to describe this latest expansion of settlement homes by 900?
Yes, it's dangerous in the sense that to try to make progress in peace process, to try to resume negotiations, is going to have to be focused on something that the two sides have in common. Jerusalem is an issue which divides them. It's a zero-sum game issue, and it will make it far more difficult if we get wrapped around the axle now of the Jerusalem issue to get the negotiations going.
Right, and what about the issue of the settlements itself? Everyone's amazed with the difference in the wording, from the strong first wording about settlements to toning it down a little, and has raised the thought that, in fact, has Israel, has Netanyahu outmaneuvered, or actually just so far beaten, the Obama administration in America? Israel versus America ought to be a rather unequal battle, one would have thought.
Yes, I think what's happened here is that there's been a discrepancy between the lofty goal that the president set of a settlements freeze, including natural growth, and what the administration actually did. George Mitchell engaged in a negotiation with Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Barak for something quite less than a full settlements freeze, including natural growth. And there was no adjustment of the goal to the actual agreement that was finally struck. You saw that adjustment made by the president himself at the UN General Assembly in September when he talked about settlement restraint rather than a settlement freeze. But by that time, the Palestinians, in particular Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinians, was out on a high perch, insisting that he could not accept something less than what the president had demanded in the first place. And so, as a result, we got a settlement moratorium that only applied to the West Bank. It didn't apply to Jerusalem, and grandfathered in some housing starts. And for the Palestinians and the Arabs more generally, this didn't look like the settlements freeze at all. So I think in the process, our credibility, the American credibility, was undermined. And we now have a situation where, on the one hand, we're having a fight with Netanyahu over Jerusalem, and on the other hand, the Palestinians are going to the Security Council to get a declaration of Palestinian statehood, and that's the last thing we want. The president could well find himself having to veto the very thing that he wanted to establish in the first place.
Why would he have to veto it when he originally wanted to establish it? Because of pressure from Israel?
Well, because this has everything to do... Well, yes, but it has more to do with the reality that if he passes it, if he allows it to pass in the Security Council, who exactly is going to be responsible for implementation, if not the United States? And how the hell are we going to do that if we can't even get negotiations going? So I think the whole approach is very much one of getting negotiations started. If we go to the Security Council, it's going to make it even more difficult, where the United States basically has to choose between supporting an international declaration which will have no practical effect on the ground, or vetoing it and make it look as if we don't support a Palestinian state. So the Security Council is the last place the United States wants to be on this issue.
But why would it be damaging, Martin, for us to declare, well, the United States in this case, to declare with the Palestinians on a Palestinian state? We've been telling everyone we're in favour of a two-state solution. Everybody says that. So surely it would just be saying, yes, we're in favour of a two-state solution. Great, have a state now.
But you see, let me quote a senior Palestinian advisor to the president who I saw a few days ago in Jerusalem, who said, "You think I'm stupid? If we declare a Palestinian state and the next day my wife has to get permission to travel from Ramallah to Jericho, what will we have achieved?" And that's the heart of the matter. What happens the day after? We've got plenty of rhetorical statements about supporting Palestinian state. The question is, how is it going to be brought into being? What is the most effective way of achieving that? And there isn't a better way than to try to find a process in which, on the one hand, you're negotiating the final borders and the issues of Jerusalem and refugees, and on the other hand, building the Palestinian state from the ground up, as the Palestinian Prime Minister is doing, establishing effective, capable, responsible, transparent Palestinian institutions so that when the state is actually born, it will actually be able to function.
Absolutely. Martin, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can join us again, or if you're here in London, to come and join us in the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
There's trouble a-brewing in the Southern Cone this week. You may remember that when I interviewed Chile's President Bachelet a few weeks ago, we discussed the long-standing maritime border dispute which Chile has with Bolivia. She even came up with a new word, at least to me anyway. Let's not maritimize our relationship, she told me. Well, Chile has a similar border dispute with Peru, and this week their relationship really did become maritimized, as Peru accused Chile of spying on them. We want to make it clear Chile does not spy, insisted the Chilean government. But do they? Well, I'm joined now by Peru's Foreign Minister, Jose Antonio Garcia Belaunde. Mr. Foreign Secretary, what specifically are you accusing Chile of doing?
Well, for 5 years, there is an intelligence officer in Peru which has been bribed by the Chilean intelligence officer, an amount of $3,000 per month, and requesting him all the time to provide some classified information about the Air Force of Peru, and he did it. So we have the proof of that. We have sent it to Santiago, and we are requesting them to make their own investigation and to sanction those responsible for that illicit.
Now, Santiago did ask for the evidence. Have you, in fact, supplied that to them?
Yes, we did supply yesterday all the information concerned, and we expect some response from Santiago.
And why do you think that Chile wanted to find out Peruvian military secrets? What was it they were looking for?
Well, they want to know, as it can be seen through all these requests that they made, they want to know what are the exactly potential of our Air Force, the exact location of our aircraft and radars and things like that, the exact situation in which they are on operative terms and things like that, yeah.
Chile's Foreign Minister, Mariano Fernandez, said, as I quoted in the intro, Chile does not engage in espionage. But you'd say, nonsense, yes you do.
Yeah. Well, that is why we send them all what we have as a proof of our position, you know, as our denunciation.
So what now do you think that Chile should do to solve the situation?
Well, what we do expect is Chile make a research and investigation of that, establish who are responsible for these activities, and sanction them. It's what we expect. I mean, this is how civilized countries behave, or should behave.
And could this latest diplomatic argument lead to war, do you think?
No, I don't think so, by all means. No. We disregard that emphatically.
How many disputes do you have with Chile at the moment?
Well, we have just one, which is on maritime delimitation, which is in fact is in the Hague International Court of Justice, and we have presented a demand, we have presented our memorial. They have to present their counter memorial by March next, and the process is going on. And we want to keep that in these terms, on judicial terms.
So
there is no other dispute that we have with Chile.
So how would you characterize the relations today between Peru and Chile? Is there a complete breakdown?
There is a lack of confidence, of course. I would say that has affected what should be a fluid and normal relation between neighboring countries. But I do hope that we can overcome this situation, and we expect some clear message from the other part so as to overcome this very, I would say, I have to admit, a very tense situation, because espionage is a very complicated matter, very offensive one, and very sensitive for public opinions.
Mr. Foreign Secretary, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.
I thank you very much for this interview. I am very pleased.
In a moment, I'll be speaking to five-time Olympic gold medalist Steve Redgrave. That's after the news.